It's time to talk
YouTube.
about why your YouTube channel isn't growing in this live Q&A, and I'm joined with Danielle, the CEO of TubeSpanner. Danielle, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am good. We got a lot of questions from the Trends tab, from our Discord. If you haven't joined, you should definitely consider, and of course, the comments on the channel. And the first one is, when my channel isn't growing, people say try tools. Why should we try tools like TubeSpanner?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me why is it called TubeSpanner? Well, that's thrown a curveball. So why TubeSpanner? Because, um, gosh, I mean, it sounds really cheesy, but it's a tool which is genuinely developed by creators for creators, and that sounds so cheesy, but literally everybody involved in TubeSpanner is a creator, is a YouTuber. Um, and it started and remains a tool which is always answering the questions of how. How do I do YouTube? Why is this a thing? Every feature and every tool we've baked in is there for a reason. It's there to help you grow your channel. And I think we're the only tool that integrates a a learning system with our do next and our we guide you to achieve your goals. But then we also have the tools to let you do that. So it's an end to end. Other than filming the video, TubeSpanner does everything else. So yeah, that's why. And of course, my cats need feeding. So kitties.
Download TubeSpanner for free. Help feed a cat. There you go. You heard it here first. But I think that, when people are asking why should I try a tool, it's the same reason that you would try a new piece of filming equipment. Like, tools are used to help you better do something. So if
Yeah.
I am appearing very dark in my videos, getting a light can help with that. If I don't like the audio, getting a tool like a mic or even editing software can help with that, right? So the same reason you use a tool in your everyday creation flow is why you should consider using a YouTube tool like TubeSpanner. And the next question we have, I feel, kind of goes into that, which is, I'm using TubeSpanner. I've downloaded it. Where should I even get started?
Install the extension, log into the dashboard, connect your channel. That's a really good way of getting started. Once you literally the very first page you come to should guide you through what you want to achieve from your channel. It'll help you set goals. There's little sliders there. And then start doing the things it says to do. You can do next. So you got a front of center in the dashboard, tells you what to do, or just jump into the ideas tab and start getting ideas for your content. You can go into the audience tool and you can look at who your audience is, who you'd like them to be, and then start creating content. So, yes, the best way to start is just get started. Connect your channel, start following the workflow.
And I would say look at some of the discovery tools, figure out what you could make videos on. On the free version, you get up to 30 ideas. And even if you make one out of those 30 ideas, you can have multiple that are good. It gives you a lot of stuff to get started. And, when it starts on getting started, someone said, how important is it that I figure out my target audience when I get started? Can I figure that out later? Should I have that at the front? You mentioned it a little bit earlier in the onboarding. And they also said a lot of people recommend, finding your viewer avatar, your target audience. Why?
It's really important. And it's one of the most overlooked things, and that's your value proposition, and that and your audience go hand in hand. So you need to look at it this way. The people watching your channel have got millions and millions of videos to watch, countless hours of video of content to watch every moment of every day. What's in it for them to watch yours? Why are they going to come and watch your channel? What is your value? What are you offering in return for their time? Because a lot of creators will build content for themselves, and that's fine. And if you're doing a channel purely for that, that's absolutely fine. But the chances are, if you're doing that, you're already doing it, and you don't care about growth or things like that. You just want, and if you care about growing your channel, then your audience is critical. So you have to understand what is bringing people to view your content. They don't owe you a view. They don't owe you their time. And that's a mindset that some creators have. Don't have that. Try not to make it a channel all about you and all about drama and things. If it's people they don't know, they don't know. Unless it's a compelling drama story, when maybe you'll get an audience for doing that sort of channel. But by always considering your audience, always considering why they're clicking your content, you'll have a much easier time thinking, does my audience do they want to see this? And if you think, yes, they do, then there you go.
I think that's a great way to describe it, right? And it's something that whether you're just starting as a hobbyist or you are a business owner, figuring out who you're helping, who you're entertaining is important, right? Because if Danielle, for example, is trying to get a house built, but I never consult her on what kind of house I'm building for her, she's probably going to be disappointed and I'm going to waste a lot of my time. Whereas if I just said, hey, what kind of house are you looking for? We could have gotten through a lot of it, right? And
Mhm.
I get that a lot of people are experimenting, right? And they're trying things out. So I understand why defining your audience can be a scary proposition. Do you have any advice, Danielle, for people who are trying to define a target audience, a target viewer?
Well, there's an easy answer, and that's to use the TubeSpanner audience tool. Now, that's a little, there's two parts to this tool, which is really important, and people get confused on this all the time. There is your current audience, and there is the audience you want to reach. Particularly with a new channel, and particularly with a channel that hasn't really found its niche yet, there's a good chance that that's going to be a long way apart. But by using the audience tool, it'll ask you questions about what's your audience called? What are they into? How old are they? What are their aspirations? And once you define all that, what other stuff do they like? And YouTube is very good at this too. Once you've defined all that, that will really help you create thumbnails and titles to attract that sort of person. So
Hmm.
start with the tool. But and even before you do that, ask yourself, the next time you're watching a video, say to yourself, why am I watching this video? Why have I decided to do this? And once you can understand why that is, then that'll arm you to understand why your channel needs to be focused.
Yeah, and I think another thing, if you're struggling to figure out who you're trying to reach, your audience might be struggling to figure out who is this content for. It kind of goes both ways. So a lot of times we will say that YouTube just doesn't understand my channel. Well, if YouTube doesn't understand it, does your audience? And if you haven't defined it and you're still experimenting, what I tell people is try to find a focus. A lot of people hate the term niche, but there's riches in the niches. That's something I heard recently in an event. It's something I've heard before, but it is a reminder that I understand a lot of people do it for fun, but a lot of people do it because they want to make this a career, right? And
Mm.
yeah, some restaurants can be buffets and they can serve a wide variety of food. And, a lot of them struggle, but a lot of them succeed. And the reality is, we're just trying to help you find a focus. And if you don't want to niche down, then you're also having to remember that there is consequences, pros and cons of both ways. So this goes into the next one, which is, do I actually have to niche down? I keep hearing this across the board, but I don't know if it's bad advice or good advice. What are your thoughts, Danielle?
Do you have to? No. But it's a whole lot easier growing if you do. Okay. I've got channels which are not niched down, and I love doing them. And I've built an audience, but it's almost the Danielle show. Okay. And that's fine. And I'll do like random unboxings and reviews and a bit of drama stuff. But that channel, it's never really going to become, an income. It's just something that I do for the fun of it. But it's a good way to try different content. But if you want to grow a channel, then you have to get into a niche, or it's going to be an uphill fight. So find out what they want and focus on delivering what they want. You variety show. Look, okay. So people say, well, what about the variety shows of the 60s and 70s and stuff? And that's fine. But back then, people would sit down they only had 3, 4 television channels to watch. And so they didn't really have that much choice. They would just sit there and watch the show, and some bits they would like, and some bits they wouldn't when they'd go and get a cup of tea or a snack, and then they'd come back and hope the next bit was on. These days, people don't have to do that. These days, people can make their own variety show by just picking another video. So, you need to keep that. And you've got seconds to hook them in. So the stronger you can make it obvious, the stronger you can say, this is for you, the more chance you've got.
And to that point, you could argue the variety show these days are the shorts feed. People have so much variety in that anyway that
This is the variety show.
this is the variety, right? Because our access to content, and we're not even dealing with just purely human created content anymore. Now we're dealing with content by the machines, So it's like a lot of those channels and a lot of those AI creators are more focused than a lot of human creators. And people are like, well, it's AI slop. Why is it blowing up? I'm like, because it's focused. You don't have to like that it's not human powered. I don't like that it's not human powered, but I can't deny it's focused. And when it's focused, the audience feels a lot of the time it could be for them. And I think that, go ahead.
Yeah, YouTube's algorithm is scary good. And the number of times I've seen some Billy Nomack channel turn up with, 75 subscribers, and it's just been a banger, and I've watched it all the way through. And that happens. So yeah, you get in your niche, you give the algorithm what it wants, and nobody channel can blow up.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I like what Ike said here. I tell people if they want to do variety, then do it because it's fun and not because you want to grow a channel. And this goes back to the question, which is, do you have to niche down? The answer is technically no. However, be aware it might be a more uphill battle.
Oh, D Nimin popping in there with some.
Welcome, D.
Some Nimin gold right there. Look at this.
He says,
got the big guns.
Yeah, he says AI slop is no different than human slop. Bad content is bad content. That is 100%. Correct. And this, actually, I love that he says bad content is bad content because this goes into our next question, which is, I have done all my SEO right. Why is my video not growing? I have a thought here, and I've been throwing it to you. If I can answer this one.
I'm going to be direct. Do you want to answer it, or shall I?
I can answer, and then I'll let you go, if that's all right.
Yeah, I've got a nasty answer, so you can go ahead.
Oh, I think mine might surprise you. And this is something I've learned. Good SEO, if done right, doesn't guarantee views. It just guarantees placement in search. It is up to the packaging, the title, the thumbnail, etc., to come together to decide if an audience is interested in the conversation you're willing to have with them in search. Now, SEO can lead to suggested if you are talking on a topic that is big enough, but the phrase doing everything right is what that phrase to me is what piques my ears, because I don't know many people who think they're doing everything right, even in the expert state, and they're always iterating and testing. So I often say good SEO cannot make up for bad content.
And that's it, bad content. The SEO gets them to the shop window, then it's up to you to get them into the door. And that's the end of it. And I see, I did everything right, and I'm still not getting views. And then you watch the video and it's like, yeah, you didn't do it, but didn't right. Here's the thing, okay? YouTube's algorithm, it is really good. They spend more money on dev time and hours of development time than most small countries' GDPs on that thing. It knows your content probably better than you do. Okay. So when these people say trigger the algorithm, all that means is make good content that is easy for the algorithm to understand, and it'll start pushing it. And that's one thing about what Ike was saying just now. Do you have to niche down? Yes. I mean, it'll really help you grow, but a really good way to grow is to do loads of variety content first to figure all that stuff out. So, there's no harm in practicing.
I think replace niche with focus. Do I need to focus? Because technically F1 drivers have niched into F1 driving, but we wouldn't say, that's a bad niche to be in if they're successful, right? But that's their focus. So if you hear the word niche, replace it with should I focus? Should I focus my content? Not should I niche my content? Should I focus my content? And see how people respond to it. A lot of times people don't get the response they want on their videos, and it doesn't even have a thing to do with the video. It's the title, it's the thumbnail, Well,
look to use an example, D Nimin's in the chat there. He's done several channels which have been laser focused, and they've all grown faster than average. Now, is that luck, or is it because D's really good at getting that focus on his audience tapping into something and growing it? You tell me. And
I think D has done it time and time again, and he has focus. And if he has new interests, he puts it on a new channel for that focus. And I think that is something that can't be dismissed. You know, most people in the United States know Michael Jackson as a basketball player, and he had a little brief stint as a baseball player. But when he was focusing on what he either focused on one or the other. And here's the thing: you can have multiple interests, but that doesn't mean your audience has to agree with your multiple interests. And that's a hard one to go with. I see D is blushing. And we have a comment from the chat, and I would love your take. And this comes from Emmy Rain TV. And there says, I really want to be a big streamer. How do I do it well?
Okay, so the well is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that question.
Yes, it is.
So depends what you mean by well. I'm going to take it holistically. So I assume you mean have a good audience, good engagement, people are jumping in. I would say for a start, go and watch D. He's got one of the best live streams in the business with his brother Nick. So you be interesting. Practice. It takes a little bit of practice to do this, to just go, hey, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do these things and do that live.
Sure.
You got to try to limit your dead time. So there's always something on the screen. You're always engaging your audience so they don't get a cuppa. If you're playing a game, play the game, entertain people. If there's as Dee just said, solve their problems, make that value really obvious and keep delivering it. Don't just sit there and do nothing. And there are gaming channels that do that, but if you look at the best gaming channels, for example, they're always reacting to the game that's going on. They're always emoting strongly and even building they're narrating their inner monologues while they're playing the game. What are you thinking when this event is happening as a running commentary? Don't think it. Recite that, make it entertaining. So, and then get some okay gear. A phone will be fine. Just make it clear to see, clear to listen to, and make it interesting or fun.
You mentioned, like, if you're thinking it, say it. And I think that goes into show and tell. I often find when a lot of people stream, they'll think it and they're like, oh, I was thinking of that. And I'm like, then why didn't you say it? Right. And I think that entertaining to Danielle is going to be different than me. It's going to be different from Ike. It's going to be different from D. It's going to be different for you, Emmy. Right. And if you are doing gaming, for example, even having focus on a type, right? Cozy gaming, right? Pokopia is very big right now. Animal Crossing had its moment. Gaming especially has ebbs and flows. I call it wave riding. You're a surfer when you're doing streaming. You are a streaming surfer. And so you are going to be constantly reading the waves, figuring out, is this my wave to catch? And so that's something that's uniquely different when it comes to live streaming, especially on YouTube or a platform like Twitch. Now, Emmy says, my video game last Sunday has 17,000 views. Hope it will keep increasing. Now, what I will say, and this will sound, you got to trust me. Hope, though, is not a strategy. Why did it do well? What are the analytics telling you? So I often say, I hope things do well, and I'm proud of you. 17,000, let's not fret on that. That is stadium sold out in some places. That is open tennis courts. That's the US Open, right? And so when it comes to it, hope is not a strategy. Why did that one do well? Was it the thumbnail? Was it the title? Can we recreate it? That's what I would ask to you. And to go back to your question, what does it mean to stream well? In my opinion, is you're engaging people, you're having conversations with them, and you're keeping their interest. Like D. Nimmin, who's watching right now. How you doing, D? But also Stanley joined, right? And you're balancing. I often say when you're a streamer, you're juggling. You are constantly juggling. And speaking of juggling, this goes really well to our next question, which is, how do I decide to kill one channel to focus on another? They're juggling two. They want to know, when should they focus on one? This is a hard one.
Don't kill the channels. Just I mean, unless they're really bad. And even then, because I personally, this is a personal thing. I love going back to some of my earliest videos and think, oh, that was so bad. And that's fine. You can see where you've come from. So, but focusing, well, again, possibly asking the wrong person. I've got 17 channels, but this is the focus. So, which is the one? And I can't really answer this for you, but what is the channel that is going to get you where you want to go? What is the channel that's going to become a vehicle for your success, for your life? We collectively we know a motoring channel, and his goal was to make lots of money. So he did a channel that focused on expensive cars, and he was getting massively monetized with only, I think, 6,000 subscribers. But because the things he was selling were such high value, he was getting really good revenue from sponsors and things because it's a high value, it's a high ticket item. So even with a very small or relatively small audience, you can get good return on that. And again, at the time, there was nobody else doing that. So you basically had all the EV buyers in the world watching his channel. So again, this is where the audience tool is going to really help you, and setting your goals. So jump into TubeSpanner, get on the dashboard, set your goals, help it define your audience, and then decide which of the channels that you've got to help you best reach them.
Yeah, and which one are you still enjoying making content for?
That's
Like,
big.
that's one of the things I would say as well. You know, we focus on the numbers, but are you still having fun with it? I've talked to creators where they're like, you know, this one makes all the money. I hate it, but it makes money. And this is the one I really want to do. And I tell them, you know, look, keep the income coming. You got to maintain that. But it's like when you want to transition from one job to the next. Ideally, you have it lined up, or you build up your savings to a point where you can transition from the one to the other. But also give yourself a deadline. If you're between the two channels and one of them, again, they didn't give us a lot, similar to what does well mean for the other person, is that why are you considering it? Is it too much? Are you no longer having fun? You don't have to delete the channel, but it's okay to take a hiatus, take a break. Just use the post tab, explain what you're going through, communicate with your audience. A lot of times I find creators were so afraid to communicate. Now, granted, a lot of these features like post and shorts didn't exist before where we could easily do this. It had to be a full production on a video, right? So now we have more tools than ever to let your audience know, hey, I need to take a break. And most of the time, your community understands. And it kind of goes back to what Danielle said. There is the people currently watching you, which is your community, but your audience are the people who haven't discovered you yet. Your community will understand, and your audience, you may not be reaching for right now, but your existing back catalog of content will help you. And I do see Ike says here, communicate. No thanks, says the person who writes on their community post every time they're not posting. But still, communication is key, especially when you're building an audience, a community. What are your thoughts, Danielle?
Yeah, everything. I mean, as just as a species, communication is, you know, what it's how we've gained our knowledge. It's our superpower, communicating. All animals communicate, but at the level humans communicate is very high, which is why we invent weapons and go and kill each other. I guess I don't know, but it's like it, we have these abilities to grow, to develop, and that's core to almost everything: communicating, entertaining, showing, all of that stuff. Oh, Nick Nimmin in the house as well. Look at this,
Hello,
all the gang.
Nimmin Bros.
So
The
yeah,
Niminati
absolutely.
rides again.
There they are, superstars in the house.
So
Nick's gonna yell at me because I haven't done my auto white balance yet.
I think it's more the TV behind you is off. He's going to yell at you for.
Possibly.
But in all
Crack on.
seriousness, you know, I think what we're talking about, we're answering questions we've gotten from Discord, we've gotten from a lot of different locations, we gotten them from Trends tab, we got them from different community areas. But really, Nick says, nah, it's the framing. You see, there's always
Never
something to
happened.
improve. This is what we talk about with 1% improvement every time. We try to improve 1% every time. So this actually goes to our next question. I don't just bring up thoughts for no reason. You got to find a segue, right? And someone says, how do I know if I'm improving? Is it technical or is it analytical?
Huh.
I
It's
don't,
kind of both.
I was going to say, I don't think it's one or the other. I think you can
Oh,
improve in both ways. I think you can find a baseline. Like, I feel like our audio here on the stream is good. Shout outs to Nick for getting our graphics even better. That's a 1% improvement from the other stuff. And I feel like it can be both. But I've noticed there is a point where the technical quality, like once you get your lighting locked in, once you get the things like that, like your technical quality can kind of, it can still improve every now and then, but I feel like it flatlines where like your analytical quality can always go up. What are your thoughts?
Yes, the in terms of your production value, and also you got to decide what's good enough. There are channels even now filmed just on their phone, which do gangbusters views. They're absolutely fine. So good enough is good enough. Focus on something else at that point. So when you are looking at improving your production quality or improving your script writing or improving your dead space or improving your editing, there's a lot of things to consider in that. So getting better, it depends what you mean, but assuming you mean more growth, keep doing what you're doing. The fact that you're here right now, the fact that you're on watching us talking about some ways to help grow your channel is that just doing that means you're improving your channel. You're listening to other people. Even if you take none of this advice that we're giving out, all of these things are things that will help you improve your channel. You're learning new things. You're being open-minded to the opinions of others. We had somebody in our stream on Thursday who's already enacting some of the things that that we discussed on the show and tell, and are seeing benefits. It's starting to click. So, what was the question? How do you know, or when do you know, or how do you? What was the?
It was how and when. Like it's a little bit of both. They're wondering
Yeah.
what do you consider improvement, whether it's technical, and they were asking or, and I think we're both agreeing it's an and. I don't think it's one or the other.
Look at the graphs, look at the views, look at the engagement, and also how do you feel? Because if you feel great about it, then that's a win.
And also, are you growing in the right way? That's also something I tell people. You can have growth, but it could be unhealthy. Mold grows, but it's not good for you. Weeds grow too, right? So are you growing in the right way? So if you are a channel that is focused on one thing, but really what's taking off is another series of video, are you prepared for that other series that you didn't expect to do well? And are you pivoting? Are you willing to pivot? If not, then consider the negative growth. When mold grows, you must remove it for your health, for your longevity. So what I say is, you're wondering what is good growth. Well, good growth is you're focusing on what you're trying to do. You're seeing improvements, whether it's your audio, whether you're trying something new, video over video. But be careful of bad growth too. I think that's almost just as important. And often I feel like I find myself not talking about it enough. What is bad growth?
What is bad growth?
I think bad growth is like if we are a cooking channel and all of a sudden I do a sneaker review and that takes off and people are like more sneaker content and I have no intention of doing that again. That could be pretty bad growth. Yes, it's growth, but it's not helping what I'm trying to do.
That's going to really get you down as well when that audience doesn't come back to see you making your cakes.
Exactly. And so I would say like not all growth is good. And that's something I think is important to just talk about. And speaking of important to talk about, Nick's got it right. Bad growth is someone doing negative content that divides people.
You know,
correct.
Divisive. But I'm I have a problem with those sorts. Like each to their own. But I don't like those sorts of negative content. I don't like divisive stuff. There's no need for that. Just let's all be nice to each other. But you know that.
The only people I want to see do negative dividing content is math teachers. And other than that, that's about where you lose me. Now, Sarah actually brings up, I've seen several people in my industry actually fail because they went viral. A yarn dyer went viral and she couldn't keep up with orders. It turned into a disaster. That's also something that can happen. Are you prepped for growth? Right? Because like right now, people are to a normalization. They're used to things where they're at. But if Danielle, 1,000 people, right, came to your house tomorrow and are like, all right, cook me food, you'd probably be overwhelmed and be like, how'd you find my house? Who are you people? But I think it passed the gates. Right. But it does matter, right? Because if you're not prepped for the follow-up, it can be a lot. A lot of times
Yeah.
people can't deal with that overnight level of fame.
Yeah, in business, it's called overtrading, and it's a real risk because suddenly you got too many people, then you get bad reviews, and you spike and you fail. It's yeah, don't do that.
And here's what I would tell you. A lot of times as creatives, we focus so much on not growing, we don't plan for when we do. And I think that that is true across the board, across the niche, across the focus. And I think that, if you're trying to plan on what you do, this goes into our next question, which is I'm trying to plan my content out for a year. Is that a good or bad idea? I do hiking videos.
I think that's a very good idea. I wouldn't plan them too strict if there's too many variables or you're going to waste time. But putting a pin in something to say this is an event that's likely to happen and this is somewhere I'd like to be. Yeah, planning is great. The more you plan like that, the more you put stuff in, start preparing, getting ideas. You could start gathering B-roll. You can think about, well, in 6 months' time, I'm going to be doing this content, but I'm here right now and I can film this thing because it's in front of me. So you can start building bits that you need. And the more stuff you've got in the can or the more things you've got, you can fall back on or pull forward if plans change. Yeah, planning. Some of the best creators I know, and I'm looking at you, Nick Nimmin, use tools to plan everything. They almost use a Kanban board. And it's like, but in Post-it notes everywhere. So yeah, that's a very good idea. Plan, 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 plan. And TubeSpanner's got a really good tool that'll help you with that as well. It'll help you plan your year ahead and it'll look for events in your niche and stick pins them and say, if you're an unboxing channel, it'll start looking at Christmas gift ideas, months down the road and things. So yeah, planning is excellent.
I think planning is great, but also be willing to make something in between. Like, don't
Pivot.
be so planned far ahead that you're actually not focusing on like content that might be relevant. So if a certain hiking shoe really takes off, or like at the beginning of this year, Alex Honnold did a free climb, right? And that gives you an opportunity to talk about your kind of hiking versus like rock climbing and like how can you get into those other things, right? So if you're doing hiking, be agile, right? And also keep in mind, what trails are you doing? Because it may not be as broad appealing as you think, right? Because when it comes to hiking, if I'm focusing on hiking in the United States, maybe Danielle has interest in that. But, compared to hiking in the UK, that one might be a little bit more doable for her. And so I think that planning ahead is one thing, but be willing to change. It's great that you're consistent, but don't be so married to your plan that you are unflexible. That's what I would say.
I mean, to be clear, Danielle doesn't like hiking. It involves way too much outside.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But then that also goes to Danielle probably isn't your target viewer.
I kind of wish I was, because those hiking boots and those fancy hiking sticks are cool. Out of anything, it's got gadgets, but sadly, and for GPS and everything, all kinds of excuses for tech. But if I was walking around in the rain, nah, I'm good.
But also, as you are, planning out your hiking stuff, think about this. If you do like a summer hike video in December, that might be totally misaligned. Not that you would, but be prepared for time of year. Like, are you actually planning that far ahead? Like, depends.
Yeah, and that's a really bad time to get your shorts confused.
And Stanley says, totally agree. It's the boots and the awesome sticks that sell me too. And see, even though we are peripheral viewers here, like we're not in your audience, we know enough to be interested, right? And plan for those people who are on the fringe, who may be interested in it, but don't know more than what we know here, right? Like, if you want to do good SEO, that's a way you can do it. Look at conversations people have around your focus. Talk about it. Here are 5 things you need to know about blank. This live stream, why your channel isn't growing. And that goes to my YouTube video is not getting views suddenly. What do I do?
Suddenly, interesting. Have a look at the metrics first. Why has your audience dropped off? Look at how many impressions is it getting? Has it stopped being pushed? Has the topic suddenly died? Is there a more relevant video now pushing ahead of it? Hard to tell. But look at what else is out there that's being watched. Search for that video and see what comes up higher than it. even though it's browse matters. It's if you can see another video that's more recent than yours, getting a lot more traffic, then why is that doing better? There's a lot of ways to answer that. And it all depends. It could be because it's no longer trending. If you did a film review of a video that's just gone into the box office, there's a good chance it's not getting as many views anymore. So it's there's a lot of reasons why that could be, but look at your metrics. That's the time to rely on your YouTube Studio, or the channel analytics in TubeSpanner.
No, I fully agree. Look at why did it pop off? Is it subject matter? I love how you give the box office, right? Like if I make a video now on a film that is doing really well at the box office, it'll probably rise pretty quickly here. But after it leaves theaters, after it's done its run, it'll probably therefore see that stopping views. If you're in gaming, maybe it's a game that had a moment, right? Like even everything has a moment. Not everything is evergreen. And that's okay. You don't always need to make evergreen videos, but the trade-off when a video is not evergreen, the shelf life can be a lot shorter. It could also be, if you're into gaming, maybe a new game popped off and people are focused more on that than what you're focused on. That's okay. Maybe there's industry news. I love what you said, Danielle. Maybe there's another video that's just outperforming it. That too is fine. So
Yeah,
why
and
is your... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and that's a good chance to use things like outlier tools as well to see why this other video suddenly done well. But this is really common in a lot of channels. Look at Philip DeFranco. His channel, he puts a new video out and it goes bonkers, but not long, because the following day he's talking about new news stories, and his last video, yesterday's video, falls off a cliff. Now, the algorithm will push it occasionally, but even then I'm thinking, oh, this is a story from 3 months ago, and I'm done, and you click off straight away. So it really depends on the content, on somebody else's content, or the metrics. There's lots of things it could be, but yeah.
And also, suddenly stopping getting views sometimes, if it's a short, sometimes it just fell out of the shorts feed. You know, that's normal. They can have a shelf life. Shorts are heavily based on relevancy. So to the Philip DeFranco example, if you have a viral short around breaking news and even more breaking news has come out since your video, then that's the more recent thing. And that's where maybe you should consider doing a follow-up if it's relevant, right? We went back on bad growth. Like if on my channel I start talking about something that's happening that is not related, but I get a huge audience from that, well, yeah, I can't be surprised when they don't come back. I see from Sarah, though sometimes things will surprise you. Not YouTube, but my best-selling knitting pattern is a pair of heavy knit mittens, and it sells high in the summer. I have no idea why. But where are you based in the world? Because your summer might be someone else's winter. That's what I would flag you there. And also, maybe people are thinking about mittens buying early. They want to get their Christmas shopping, their holiday shopping done real quick. I don't do it that early, but you know, I mean, if it's handcrafted something, a lot of times people will buy it early because they know it takes time.
Mittens do seem like a popular Christmas gift, especially if it's someone that's been nippy.
True. Now, I think you're going to like this question, Danielle. I have followed a lot of advice, even some advice from TubeSpanner, and I'm finally seeing growth. Do I have to keep following the growth? Do I have to keep doing the stuff you recommend every single time?
Probably. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. When you find what works, keep doing what works. Unless you want to do something else now, okay? But what you should absolutely do is keep asking those sorts of questions, and that's something you should always do. And never trust what we say without testing it. Nick Nimmin and Dean Nimmin, superstars just in the channel, will tell you the same thing. The number of times they've had a gut feeling about something and it was wrong, and then they A/B tested and something happened. So always keep testing, but the advice that we try to lead you to follow, the things that the TubeSpanner, the channel, we don't tell you exactly what will work, but we tell you the type of things that will work. You don't need to be perfect every time. You need to keep doing enough of the right things to see consistent growth. Very hard to always be perfect, but you can always be good enough. And that's what the objective is here. So I would say, I mean, yeah, keep doing those things, but there is a point where, or there's several points where what you have to do with no subscribers compared to what you have to do with 20,000 subscribers and 100,000 subscribers may well change. Certainly, YouTube will treat your channel differently. So there are things you'll have to adapt to along the way, but still, broadly speaking, doing the right thing is always the right thing to do.
Fair enough. But I would also just say, we're talking a lot about fundamentals, right? A lot of what we recommend are basic fundamental things. But Danielle, you and I have been on fitness journeys. And what I would tell you is there will be a time when you need to increase the weight. Your form, your baseline, it stays the same, but the challenge increases. So, yes, do those fundamentals, but if I only do the same weight in perpetuity, I'm going to plateau in my gains because I'm not challenging, I'm not pushing forward. Do so in healthy, controlled ways. I shouldn't go from 5-pound weights to 50-pound weights. That's too big of a jump. But figure out for your content what is the thing that's a little challenging that you've been wanting to do and figure out how to do that while maintaining those standard 5-pound weight workouts, aka your normal videos, right? So what I would tell you is what we're teaching you is a lot of fundamental stuff. And when you're ready to up the weight, don't be afraid to up the weight, up the content, up the ante in a healthy way that is with terms of service. Some people hear that and go too crazy, but still, that's my take. Daniel?
I do. And also, I mean, it sounds a bit silly, but if you've watched one of our streams and we've done a video title, don't keep doing the same title. So there's a limit to doing the same thing, but doing the same type of thing is fine, but be prepared to adapt and don't be afraid to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. And we have a question from the Prog Corner. And they say, my channel has been doing great, 17.6 thousand subscribers, but in a very small niche. Any tips for niching out? And looking here, it says you're a failed musician and full-time advocate of prog rock. Maybe talk about that, how prog rock influences other genres of music. Keep it within the music focus, but let it teach you in ways that can be, different, right? Because there's an artist, I'm sure, that is more mainstream that probably took inspiration from prog rock that we don't know about and that you do. And if you don't, look into it. Who is that person? Find those things that are music focused, but in your corner. That's a way you can niche out. Take inspiration from a larger topic to interest them into your prog corner. Thoughts, Danielle?
My thoughts, I love prog rock. I'm going to go and subscribe to that channel in a minute.
Well, there you go.
I suppose it depends what you want to niche out into. Is it to broaden your appeal, which I think is what we're saying? What can you, I mean, I haven't watched the channel, but what could you do which is an adjacent topic that people who watch your channel are also going to be interested in? So if, for example, you're talking about records or maybe you could do, look at VinWiki, for example. They do car content, but every so often they'll get other car channels on and they'll talk about their failures and successes. And it's also interesting then. So they're doing adjacent content, which is still in the same niche, branching out. So maybe there's something like that you can do. What's some content? What do you watch next after you watch one of your shows? And maybe do something like that.
No. And I also want to just note that if you are unaware, prog is usually progressive rock, I believe, usually shortened to prog rock. But be careful even calling it that in a video and check those subtitles, because I actually saw, God, this goes back a couple years ago, so maybe the subtitles are a little bit better, but it kept saying prog rock, not as progressive, but the country, and it kept saying prog rocks, like the geography and the geology more specific. It is, but they were more focused on geology, and I'm like, that's where that YouTube, the AI can only be so good. There is a difference between progressive rock and rocks in prog. You know what I mean?
Oh, prog rock, right?
Yeah. It literally thought prog rock. So I'm like, no, not the country and the rocks, not the geology.
Prog rocks. It really does. It's awesome. But that's a whole other video.
Yes, but I go to say that, You're talking about progressive rock, and if you go into prog rocks from Prague, that is too weird of a niche difference, in my opinion. Similar name, too different. But I'm being serious. We saw something like that before, and I was like, wow, that's a unique case for sure. Someone said YouTube subtitles are sometimes hilarious. I was talking about physics of silk yarn, and YouTube somehow talking about, let's just say, adult activity. Yes, prog like that. I've seen YouTube subtitles even on this channel. It thought we were saying TubeSpanner, and I'm like, close, but no.
Subtitles can never understand me. People can't understand my Wenglish accent, so the subtitle tool has got no chance.
But this actually, and I brought up subtitles. You know me, Danielle. How important are subtitles to my YouTube videos? Do I actually need to do them?
If your audience has no speakers, yes. I watch quite a lot of content without the sound on because I like to just read it.
YouTube is prioritizing it. There's a reason on mobile, if you now mute your video, it'll auto show subtitles. Think about it for shorts. If people are scrolling because they only have 5 minutes between work, make it be easy to see captions. Not outside of that, they actually let YouTube know what your video is about. It's what replace tags is an important thing. Subtitles are super important, not only for SEO, for metadata, for optimization, but for the people who are hard of hearing, who may necessarily need it. It's an accessibility thing too. So do you absolutely need to? If you can't have the time, if you don't have the ability to, I get that, but I would say don't just discount it. It is worth doing. Stop craptions is like a real thing where it's like stop bad captions. They call it craptions. So what I would tell you is if you have the ability, the bandwidth, yes, don't stress too much about them, but also don't discount them. That's what I'd say. What are your thoughts on subtitles in terms of like SEO and metadata?
The more you can give the tools and the more you can give your audience, the more you should do. The more the better. So the more boxes you can tick, putting your captions in, putting your subtitles in, different languages, the more you can do to attract someone to watch your content, the better. You don't want to close any doors to people coming in taking a look. There is a downside, and that's because it is time consuming. But there are loads of tools that can help with all that sort of stuff. So, and that's where tools like TubeSpanner, I mean, like I'm making a pitch, are really useful because they save you time. And that's the sort of stuff that you want. You want to open every door, get every opportunity to get those clicks and views.
Yeah, of course. And Sarah Dawn Design says subtitles are indexed in SEO, so search engines. That is true. In AI as well. AI pulls from a lot of captions, so that's something to consider as well. And
I had one today. I was looking up something. I was researching something, and Gemini found that bit of a transcript in a YouTube video and took me to the video. I was like, that's new. Very, very powerful. So, it indexed the transcript.
And then Sarah also says, if you're a business, you actually might have a legal obligation to have subtitles too, depending on the accessibility laws of the country/area. Very fair point.
Yeah, spot on. True.
Agreed with what Stanley says. I feel captions are highly underrated for SEO. Captions and chapters. Absolutely. And then this goes into an interesting question from Kenneth. Also, when you are doing English, do you do the same subtitle language? If you are able to speak multiple languages and you can caption in multiple languages and it doesn't take you too long, I say go for it. Obviously, if you speak the language, that should be the subtitle language you provide by default. That's what YouTube would do. But I know, Kennedy, you speak multiple languages. If you can maintain it and you are comfortable and you enjoy it, then yes. If it's too difficult for you, there are other things you should be focusing on, in my opinion. So it is great to have multiple language supports, and YouTube actually nowadays with their auto transcripts, auto captions, auto dubbing actually, does quite a lot of that. So I would consider it if you can maintain it. And then Sarah says, obligatory, not a lawyer, speech, just a long-standing disability rights advocate nerd. Absolutely. And we have a couple more questions, and this one is, I feel, going to make Danielle very happy, and I had to throw it to her. And it says, so you talk about cars videos. This was on a stream where you brought up cars. How do I
Yes.
write content for YouTube videos around cars? Do I focus on the review? Should I make it about living in it, like life with the car? What are your thoughts? So Danielle,
Oh
this
my
one
God.
I hand cherry picked for you. Go for it.
It's up to you. There are so many great ways to do car content. My personal favorites are, I really like Car Wow because I love to see them doing drag races with various cars down the runway because who doesn't? And I really like channels like Matt Armstrong's and Chris Stick's that just rebuild. You know, they take total wiped out cars and make them into really good cars and put them back on the road. Also, like some of the old school mechanical ones. So, if you want to get me watching, do rebuild videos. But there are so many things you can do, car news and stuff like that, and that's also good. There's a lot of those though, and you're competing with a lot of bots doing that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I would say build content, but the downside is you need a garage and you need tools and you need somewhere to do that sort of stuff. But I mean, again, look at Matt Armstrong, right? He did it. He started his channel um, fixing the brakes in a pub car park, in a restaurant car park. And now look at him. He's just bought a £1 million apartment in Miami. He's got a massive house. He's got Lamborghinis to a zoo. So, yeah, there's so many ways you can do that. What sort of content do you like? What do you want to do?
I think those are fair questions, right? And it's like, are you trying to be more high end cars, right? Like those Lamborghinis and things like that? Or are you trying to be more consumer focused? Maybe you're reviewing entry level cars like a Toyota Camry, things like that. So that also, and then like if you are more entry level, like Sarah Dawn says, cars, the vehicles with wheels and an engine that go, that's the limit of my car knowledge. Well, what if it's an EV, Sarah? There is no engine there. And that goes to our question of the person doing cars. If you're doing cars, are they ICE, aka internal combustion engine, or are they EV? So there is a lot of, people are like, oh, I've talked about everything in my niche. Cars is a great example of there's so much you could cover in the cars niche
There is.
that I often find, I want your take on, I've covered everything in my niche as a sentence. What are your thoughts when people say that? Because I have a lot of opinions on this.
No, you haven't.
That's my stance too. I'm like, so you've done everything in the niche? And I mean I'm talking every.
We just turn YouTube off then. Everything that ever, it's all been done.
I often say that I
Now.
guarantee you there's something that's going to be. Now, maybe you've done the topic before, but it takes people 7 times to learn a thing. If you can talk about it in a new way, right? Like I've talked about YouTube SEO for over a decade now, and I'm always finding new ways to make it resonate with people. Danielle has been creating software for over many decades and is finding constant ways to make it exciting to people, even like me, who is just learning to code, right? And I've learned a lot from Danielle. So
there's always, look at Simon Whistler, right? You know Simon
Yeah.
Whistler, really good, does informational content. I swear he has done the same video about that Japanese girl, I think, in a lift about 100 times. He does the same videos. He just repackages them and does them again. He even makes a joke that he's done them before. Do them again. The best stories can be told over and over again. How many times have you seen a story based on the Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, or the hero's journey? There are so many ways to repackage that content, but it's the same one over and over again with a slight twist. So just so even if you have done it all, you haven't, do it again. Change the color blue.
No, and again, I think it goes back to doing the fundamentals. Now, granted, they just said, and those people when I talked to, they're like, I've done everything in my niche. They usually don't know. They usually are an expert in the thing. And one piece of advice, if you're like struggling to grow on YouTube, is if you're an expert, you might only be talking to expert when there is a lot of value in people trying to get to your skill level. We went to a panel, Ike is in the chat, where it says, speak to you who you were 5 years ago. What did that person need to know? And I think that's a huge part of what we're talking about here, right? Because if you're an expert and you're only making content for experts, then you're at top of funnel. You're at super niche levels when it comes to what you're covering. But sometimes those beginner things can actually test your own knowledge of things. It makes you reevaluate what you know.
Just Roger Wakefield. He's an expert and does plumbing videos. Do you think he's done every video about plumbing that can be done? Or is he still banging them out the door? There's always something more to do.
And Sarah Dawn Design says a great point. How deep is your niche? She says I could do knitting 101 in a paragraph, sure, but then there's cables, lace, grafting, steeking, color work, grading, and so much more. And each of those is a video. Each of those could be its own playlist, right? And like even going back to the cars, you could do a thing about every part of the car interior. You ever see a manual for a car? That's hundreds of pages of content right there. Now,
Absolutely.
Danielle's favorite part of the car is wiper fluid. You know, she's definitely a proponent of making sure you replace your windshield wiper fluid and also your headlight fluid. You know, you got to make sure you're putting the right headlight fluid in. And she's like, "Where is he going with this?" If you've ever been in the States, it might be a more local joke. But yeah, make sure you get your headlight fluid checked.
Okay.
Danielle is now confused. She has no idea where to go with this.
Thanks
But
for passing me that one.
no worries. But the next one I can pass you is something I think you'll know very well, which is, you know, I'm running out of ideas for my channel.
Oh, we can help you there.
And I feel that I don't want to just talk about the same 3 topics over and over again. How do I branch out while keeping focus?
Use the idea tool. It'll throw a ton of stuff at you using TubeSpanner.
And they say that they are a programmer, specifically in C#, and this is where you lose me. So,
oh, okay. Interesting. Do something different with C# then. Do a project. Do something people don't usually do with C#. So yeah, I mean, do something. I mean, one of my favorite coding channels is it's this place that he writes game and AI scripts like in real time. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know the
Code Bullet. The guy's hilarious to watch, and he just shares his screen sped up in real time, and he types the code in live, sped up, and it fails and it breaks and everything catches fire, and it's so much fun. And all he does is, so rather than doing a tutorial, he sets himself a channel. Can I write an AI? Can I write a maze game and write a little AI to learn how to solve the mazes? Can I go online and write a bot that beats all the other players? And he'll do it live in real time, and that'll be the video. Brilliant. There's always something, and so set yourself real-time challenges to do with code. Oh, that's one example. Maybe branch out to a different language, explore different libraries, do something bonkers. Try something that used to be fun back in when the cool kids was obfuscation. Trying to write your Perl scripts as utterly illegible as possible. So there's always something fun to do with coding because we're geeks and we love stuff like that.
And maybe even if, depending your stance on like AI and things like that, maybe it is something like, can I make better code than AI in 5 minutes or something like that? Now, granted, this is me coming from it not knowing that kind of code language super well. So forgive me if that is too hard of a challenge, but like there are lots of ways you could branch out other than those 3 topics. Maybe you talk about like what most people get wrong about those. Again, you said 3. I don't know C#. Maybe that to you, Danielle, you specifically know what 3 they're probably talking about.
Let me tell you something about AI coding. As somebody that's been coding for a long time, and I'm very impressed with AI, there has never been a faster way to make really bad code than AI. It makes bad code so quickly. So there you go. That's my thoughts on AI coding and vibe coding.
But I mean, that could be something you talk about with your channel if that's something you feel comfortable talking about. And I would say that when it comes to running out of ideas, have you taken a step back? Have you gone back to what beginners are looking for? Again, we talk about doing research, but a lot of times it can be idea research. It can just get your brain going. Because if you're an expert in C sharp, then yeah, you may not know what someone who doesn't know. Like maybe you talk about other coding languages and why you picked C sharp. Maybe you talk about your regrets in picking it. Because I've talked to a few people who've picked a language and they're like, I wish I picked blank instead. And maybe you talk about that, the downsides of it. You know it so well, but maybe you're forgetting that what your audience also needs is other opinions on someone who's an expert in this thing. Like, you could even make a video, would I choose C sharp today? For your audience, that probably would be very good. I don't know too much on this, so I will get off my suggestions. This is where Danielle knew more.
C Sharp's one of Microsoft's visual suite of languages, and it's really good. But yeah,
No, this last one's important. How can I learn more on YouTube?
Wow. About YouTube or on? I mean, the easy way to learn more on YouTube is watch YouTube. But do you mean? I'm guessing they mean.
I'm assuming they mean about. And I will tell you, I already have the answer. You should consider subscribing not only to the TubeSpanner channel, but a lot of the people here in chat, they know YouTube very well. You can watch us every TubeSpanner Tuesday. This was a very vague question I chose to end on. And so if you want to learn more, you should install the browser extension for free in the description. Join the Discord. Watch the channel every TubeSpanner Tuesday. And as always, we hope you have a good day. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys.